This video was requested by my GOAT King, Julian, and if you guys want me to do your video requests, be sure to tap into my live streams where I go over different matchups along with popular topics throughout the week. I know it's kind of hard to keep track, but usually I like to time my streams on the weekends, but be sure to have post notifications on, that way you guys get notified anytime I stream. Anywho, this video topic consists of two universes I very much know and love, and that's if King Piccolo could solo One Piece. King Piccolo is pretty much the first world-ending threat within Dragon Ball in my opinion, and so instead of placing him in Dragon Ball, we will say somehow King Piccolo returned to the One Piece world. This leads into not only the Demon King having a new world to conquer, but a huge threat also emerges on the planet for our main crew. For this video, we will be having Piccolo fight the Strawhats, and then we can see how he'd do against the other groups of power within the universe, such as Blackbeard, Marco, Law, the Admirals, the Holy Knights, etc. Let's break down King Piccolo's power first, as it is very easy to break down all things considered. King Piccolo by far was the strongest opponent Goku had to go up against at this point, far surpassing the likes of Roshi and even Tien. Roshi by this point can channel his kamehameha with enough potency to atomize the moon. This feat itself would come out to around planetary based on your calculation, as he wasn't just able to destroy the moon but also have enough potency to atomize it. So more or less he'd be vaporizing the entire thing rather than just conventionally destroying it. This will also be consistent as King Piccolo seems to be confident he can destroy the world himself. There are a lot of silly things people use to downplay him, like saying he's only city level at full power without using statements, and he also gets compared to a nuclear bomb, but obviously this shouldn't be used as literal since the battle with King Piccolo is definitely a threat that decided the fate of the planet itself. And I already know people are going to say, oh well, he actually said he has limitless powers, so he's universal. Yeah bro, and Blackbeard's universal with his black holes. Anywho, this should put King Piccolo's attack potency easily within the large planetary range. And if you don't want to go off of calculations, at the very worst, he is planetary. As for speed, Goku even by the Red Ribbon Saga was dodging light-based lasers. And of course, the higher your power level gets, the higher your speed also gets. This would mean baseline King Piccolo is moving a few times into the speed of light, though it wouldn't be to a ridiculous amount. He'd only just be surpassing the baseline a handful of times at best. The higher tier speed feats in Dragon Ball don't really come in until Dragon Ball Z, where King Piccolo gets absolutely power crept. For reference, by the first arc, Chaozu could already one-shot him. As far as hacks goes, King Piccolo surprisingly as well does have some very useful abilities. Due to his DNA, he can regenerate and stretch his limbs, along with summoning his children who by this point were pressing Tien. Even the weakest child of King Piccolo was giving Yajirobe and Goku some trouble. But guys like Drum at this point should be much stronger than Roshi and Tien, meaning even his goons are pretty strong on their own. Piccolo's main weakness though is definitely his arrogance, considering he thinks he's just him when he's much younger. But I can't really blame him considering by this point in the series he was unstoppable. But how does he, along with his army, stack up compared to One Piece's top tiers? Now when it comes to One Piece power scaling, I either see one or two things. One is that Luffy along with most of the top tiers in One Piece are star level, or two, they just barely cap at island level. However, I'm someone who's kinda in the middle. Due to the size of One Piece's Earth along with various calculations, I believe the most consistent interpretation to have is say the top tiers fall somewhere between Multi Continental to potentially Large Planetary. The reason for this being is based off of Blackbeard's Gura Gura Shockwaves, Luffy's Onigashima punch, and Old Whitebeard's Tectonic shifting plate feat. Luffy's punch, based on the kinetic energy he would have to throw due to the size of his hand, comes out to around moon level itself, while the other two feats are a bit more contentious. But usually it comes out to around multi-continental to potentially planetary, and we even have statements within the One Piece universe saying that Whitebeard with his Gura Gura can destroy the planet. Now, taking this statement literally is shaky since technically only Whitebeard and Blackbeard can do this, and this is technically based off their devil fruit, not necessarily their raw attack potency. And we know based off the Gura Gura fruit's properties, it could bypass durability, so getting hit by it doesn't necessarily mean you're taking planet level damage. The Yonko as well are far above most characters within the verse. We'd have to be super generous to other characters and say silly things like Kid is multi-continental, or even planetary because he somehow survived a divine departure. And in One Piece as well, most characters just use ways to get around conventional durabilities, so it's not as simple as it is in Dragon Ball when it comes to scaling AP. I would put most of the relevant guys in that continental to maybe multi-continental tier at best, while the relevant Yonko and Admirals should be reaching higher tiers like moon level or even planetary. If you think Old Whitebeard is planetary or the weakest form of Blackbeard is planetary, then it's pretty easy to get the selected top tiers in that said tier. However, being this cut and dry with One Piece scaling is definitely me being generous to the One Piece verse, and I only think realistically maybe 4 characters can be justified as planetary. But I'm going to be nice to One Piece because I am a One Piece tard and biased, according to you guys. When it comes to speed, I feel like whether you think the verse is either now just reaching light speed or the top tiers are, or they've been light speed since pre-time skip, regardless of the interpretation you have, it's very consistent for the relevant fighters that are participating in this battle to be combating and reacting at speeds beyond the speed of light. And to make matters worse, most of the strong characters in this universe can already react to much faster attacks thanks to observation haki, which will definitely come in handy for this scenario. Now, I'll get into the abilities of certain characters when King Piccolo gets to it, but first let's actually compare where King Piccolo stacks up in raw physicality. In terms of just raw power, there is not a character dead or alive that even come close to the power that King Piccolo is capable of putting out within the One Piece verse. The Gura Gura scaling is very shaky due to the property of the fruit, and yet this is arguably the strongest ability in the series. Now, the planet in One Piece is much larger than ours at the very least, with calculations even having it coming to around star level in size. If you believe in the star level One Piece agenda and Blackbeard actually shoots out black holes, and Whitebeard might be star level, thus giving the Yonko by extension star level scaling, sure bro, they're stronger than King Piccolo and this video is not really necessary. However, I don't really agree with this considering it's more in line to say their peaks are at Large Planetary, but the argument is there. I usually use this scaling when Luffy is put in popular matchups against other crossverse characters. I'm trying to have a more reasonable interpretation of the scaling, but even then, thinking that most of the top tiers in One Piece are Large Planetary based off of Whitebeard's fruit, you definitely have to be playing a little bit of mental gymnastics there. And even if we take this Whitebeard feat, this at best might put him above Master Roshi's moonbusting feat. And we have an older King Piccolo and his children surpassing Roshi and Tien at this point. The real issue for King Piccolo is speed. Not only is he maybe performing relative feats with the top tiers, but these guys have future sight on top of this, meaning King Piccolo more than likely is being evaded and even caught by some of these guys' attacks. Which is where we get into specific characters that I believe could catch King Piccolo off guard. We have Marco with his devil fruit pretty much being unable to die from physical attacks, which would definitely throw King Piccolo off. And we know he has the reaction feats to do this as he's reacted to Kizaru and the other admirals, meaning he'd at least be able to stall for a few seconds with Piccolo. And we also have things such as advanced conquerors, Blackbeard's nullifying black holes, and Law's attacks that affect one's cells and organs. Due to a lot of the characters fighting with durability negation, King Piccolo is essentially going to get Kaido'd and take a bunch of eternal damage. If his minions are here at the start or begin to jump in at this point, it's hard to say how much Law could really do before he collapses from exhaustion. Law's devil fruit takes a lot of stamina out of him, and even at the beginning of the series when we were introduced to him, we saw that he could only use room a few times before collapsing. He's definitely gotten better at this point, but he couldn't even effectively damage someone like Kaido, and King Piccolo and his children are all superior to this version of Kaido by a good amount. Most devil fruit powers are linked to your physical strength and stamina, meaning I don't think Law is killing all of them because he's faster and has Duraneg. Ki, like Haki, is something spiritual, and it allows you to bypass abilities that they usually wouldn't be able to go through by overpowering it. I think if it was just King Piccolo himself, he'd probably get overwhelmed by the sheer numbers and lack of abilities to deal with so much hacks. But I can't lie, if we're having like a King Piccolo arc within the One Piece verse and King Piccolo and his minions are going through the verse one by one with the groups, like first Luffy, then the Yonko, then the Admirals, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, King Piccolo got that pretty comfortably. But if it was a battle royale, he would just get overwhelmed by the sheer numbers advantage. But even then, if his children either wear most of the verse down or just jump in to save King Piccolo, I don't think the One Piece universe has what it takes to bring down the entire demon clan. And again, if you think One Piece is star level or even universal, oh my god, Gear 5 multiversal, then sure, Luffy would one-shot bro. But realistically, I think Luffy and the others would fall to the hands of King Piccolo.